Hey, yo, back again. Hopefully the last podcast came out all right. God damn.
Can't live in the past.
Yeah, I don't know how it is because, we're kind of backing up from the last one. So it's just, I don't know. That last one went bad. Hopefully this one goes better.
Maybe you'll hear it, maybe you won't. But either way, we are charging forward.
Yeah, that's it. But if you're watching on the YouTube here, you can see we have another guest from that. So let's just go from there. He's a veteran of one championship there. Really high accolades, MMA fighter from Australia, training at a potential unlimited mixed martial arts. It is Reece Lightning McLaren. How are you today, mate?
That intro is very Wu-Tang. I like it.
that's the vibe you're trying to do around here.
Yeah, I'm down.
Nice, mate. Good. How's it up to your part of the world at the moment?
Yeah, it's nice and steamy today. Nice and steamy.
Oh yeah, that's all right. Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's just all over the place, isn't it, down here?
Yeah, it's been windy. Been like the shittest weather, unequivocally the shittest kind of weather. Wind.
Humid. Yeah. But let's get into it. So when someone first comes on the podcast here, we always like to ask their background, so when was your first martial arts experience? And then how did it go from there, taking to you now being like an international professional fighter?
Yeah, look, so I grew up on Christmas Island. My very first, I guess, introduction to any sort of martial arts was through a Kung Fu gym that was on the island. It was like a lion dance joined with Malcolm Su style Kung Fu. To be honest, though, I think my very first kind of introduction to MMA or whatever was through a guy that was just working at the airport. He was just like, he was like an Australian that had done a bit of schooling or something in Canada. And he was like, you got to check this sport out. It's mixed martial arts. And then from there, my interest was started really. And here we are.
Nice. So from there in particular, because, anyone that's watched your fights, they're action-packed fights, they're crowd-pleasing fights from there. And it's like, you look like a man that looks like he has a lot of fun when he's doing them as well, that one. But do you kind of gravitate towards anything in particular? Is the jiu-jitsu game more where you really had a happy wheelhouse, or the striking is something that, you like to play alongside it to kind of get to from one point to the other?
For me, it's very mixed martial arts. So, when I started my journey, I guess I specialized in jiu-jitsu and grappling. From there, I've now moved to the Gold Coast where my stand-up's starting to catch up to my grappling. So, yeah, I guess for me, everything's exciting. I'm putting it all together, integrating it all together and getting better at everything. So,
well, I guess that's the aim of the game, isn't it? Mixed martial arts. It's just trying not to have any holes that are apparent.
Yeah, and then the trick is to try and sublimate them, join them together.
Yeah, definitely. I think later on we'll ask you how do you manage that amount of training, but you're still sticking on the jiu-jitsu side a little bit from there. With the jiu-jitsu itself, did you start in the gi, no gi? Did you do a lot of comps, or you just go, look, we're just kind of streamlining this to go just as suit MMA?
Yeah, look, when I basically started, I was just like, all right, that's it. I looked at the year that was, and there was so many jiu-jitsu comps. So I just went in everything that I could, everything. For me, it was a bit of luck. In a small country town, there was a South African guy who was a phenomenal wrestler, and I got my hands. Well, he got his hands on me, and from there, man, it just everything went to another level.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's I guess from there when you first starting out, because it's just such a small area to kind of gather a lot of the skills that you need, and also the higher levels of trying to make yourself better into the game. From there, it's if someone else is in your position right now, what can you recommend to them in terms of trying to get better?
Just keep challenging yourself, compete in everything and anything. Don't if your game's getting stagnant, it's work something else. For me, it's always been I've always had, when I was training in Toowoomba, it was a small team. So for me to keep educating myself was just lots of YouTube. And then when I went to a gym, I'd be stubbornly trying to just get like a technique or like try and set up a certain like sequence that I know would lead me somewhere. So it's like fail at that. Then you finally get it. Then you're starting to get it so good. You go, okay, next, and you move on. But that's kind of how I've always trained, and it's worked for me so far.
Yeah, I guess that we live in like a pretty blessed age where like online resources are pretty much an abundant from like pretty high level people. They're also like, the great coaches. So their teaching comes across on that platform pretty nicely.
Yeah, it's dangerous because it's like you can also be watching the wrong things.
That's right. Like I guess like you said, it's like you try and then you got to try it. It doesn't mean it's always going to be right because like, okay, it didn't work, then it's wrong. But then you got to try it a fair few times to kind of understand, like, is it the right technique for the situation you're trying to do? Or maybe it's the right technique for what you're actually able to do physically as well.
Yeah, in my head, it's simple. It's like watch the best guys, right? Watch the guys that are ranked 1, 2, 3. I don't know why you'd be watching someone that's not ranked. I just like, oh, that looks cool. It looks cool, and it looks cool for a reason, right? It's like Bruce Lee would always be complaining about it. It's all the theatrics, right? Throw all that out. Just go watch the ranked guys, 1, 2, and 3.
That's right.
As you were coming up, do you sort of remember? So I guess you would have been watching the ranked guys, in your early days. Do you remember kind of who the key influences on your style were, on your training were that you'd study coming up?
When I started jiu-jitsu, there was a young fella by the name of Ricky Budgeon, and he was the number 1 ranked wipeout, I think, back then. So I was always like, all right, his name's stuck. And then we're great mates. He runs Empire Mixed Martial Arts up in Coomera. Fantastic gym. And for me, it's always like, all right, so who's a higher belt? Who was teaching or coaching? It's like, all right, they're the names that I'm like, all right, got to watch them, got to start rolling with them more. And then obviously, like when you look at the UFC back then, it was like GSP and just the big names, like, for me, I don't know why you wouldn't be watching a ranked guy. That doesn't make sense to me.
Is watching tape something that you do a lot of? Like, do you kind of make a point to study the guys that are at the top of the game right now, or not much? Some people really like to watch tape and kind of analyze fights. Some guys aren't super into it. Well, what's your take on that?
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to repeat a bit of that. I mean, the sound was off, and then the sound come through.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah, got you loud and clear now.
Perfect. I'm just curious to get your take on, like, are you one to study a lot of tape? Like, do you like to develop your game that way? Or I know some guys are really into watching tape and some guys, they say it's not really their thing. Well, what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's about feeling. So it's for a long time I thought, I wish I knew what I knew now, but it's like I almost wish that I could feel what I feel now. Like a lot of it's a sequence and like it's almost like formula, and you just kind of have to feel each section of the formula to make it work.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Oh yeah,
that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, I guess it's like when you're in the moment from there, you can't just like look at it too long and hard. You just have to just do what you've drilled and just perform the act itself. But like going off of that, we were talking about the more so jiu-jitsu side from there. So we just recently, your stand-up itself looks good. Like it's a little bit a little bit different from other people in the moment, like a lot of stance switching itself. So how'd that come about? How did you start developing that side of your game?
I don't know. I think it just come from watching TJ Dillashaw.
Okay.
The whole bang system when it was at Alpha Male. I was so intrigued that I went over there and trained there for a month. I just missed Ludwig himself, but I was lucky enough to catch like the tail end of the bang system. So I was also like lucky enough to have TJ run like 2 classes there. So I was like, all right, this is sweet. And then I come back and just seeing like the Russians, the Ukrainian teams, the what's the other one? They're in the United States, Cuba, the Cuban boxing teams. They all make all their boxers stand southpaw.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that. So what it is the advantage, right? So just being able to go southpaw, the kick to the liver, the left hand, the angles, and the single leg. It all kind of was like, oh, that makes sense.
So had you messed around with kind of working out of both stances before that trip, or it was just not really something that you considered?
I kind of messed around with it a little bit, but I don't know. Anyway, you kind of go back then anyway, or even now, it's kind of like set one way, stay that way, get good at that way. But I mean, baseball players, right? They'll throw something like 75% of their practice throws with their left hand, even though they're right-handed in practice season. It makes their right hand better.
Yeah. And so the way that you work your stand-up now, like sort of obviously a little while removed from that trip, but obviously taking that influence into your fighting style, how do you split that up? Is it a matter of like if you're drilling a technique, will you drill it in orthodox and then switch over and give it the same amount of time in southpaw? Like how do you break it up like that?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. And then like an overload, so we go one side then the other side. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. It's like, all right, 2 minutes. Left foot forward, 2 minutes, right foot forward. Now it's like, what foot's forward? It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Is that just something that like when you train you do, or is that like the methodology of your coaches for like everyone in the team?
Yeah, no, it's pretty much the team. It's a Jet Kundu kind of background. So Bruce Lee was always put the right dominant hand forward. It's quicker. Same with the dominant foot.
Yeah, it's like talking about your team is a little bit like your coaches and that. How about like you talk about them a bit, like their backgrounds? Who are they as well?
Yeah, look, so Vincent Perry, he has been around since ever. Back in the day, he had a fighter by the name of Juan Dowling. Now, he was the Australian champion at the time that Mundine was coming up. So if you look through the rankings, you've got Mundine and you've got Dowling at number 1. So he ended up fighting Mundine. Look, Vinny his background in striking surpasses his background in jiu-jitsu, and then he pretty much is the godfather of jiu-jitsu here in Queensland. And any other coach here in Queensland, they've all been coached by Vinny.
Ah, that's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, his background's incredible. He's got like multiple people that were like Muay Thai world champions, boxing world champions, like not world, but Australia. And yeah, man, it's the place to be if you're on the Gold Coast, that's for sure.
And obviously in that as kind of Gold Coast area, there's, a lot of high level gyms and also a lot of high level gyms in the individual disciplines. Like, do you do sort of all your training at Puma? Do you hop around a little bit and get additional work elsewhere? What's that spread like?
Yeah, look, I'm so lucky that everything out of Puma. I don't need to go anywhere else for anything.
Ah, that's good. That's like it's like it's all consolidated in one area. So because like you don't have too much conflicting information from other places either.
Yeah, I feel like the guys that are skipping around, that have a coach here and a coach there. It's like if you went into a kitchen, how many head chefs are there?
Good
1. Right? You put 2 head chefs in a kitchen, that kitchen goes to shit. Right? I mean, it's a bit of common sense, I think, but whatever.
Is that the way all your teammates do it as well? Is that kind of across the board thing, or do you have guys on the team that will go and get a little bit of extra work at another place?
If anything, they might go off and do a strength and conditioning somewhere. But, I mean, strength and conditioning coach is going to be a strength and conditioning coach. It's not going to be like, don't do that. Don't do more jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like, they're sweet.
That's it. They're going to know their lane, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, like, let's look into your training a little bit then as well. Not asking you for major secrets, but but like MMA training itself, like it's like as I envision, it's a very full-time job. Like the amount of sessions you have to do, like run us through like what's a normal week of training? Like if you're coming up to a fight, what does a normal week of training look like to you?
Yeah, look, for a fight week, I'm doing a 5 or an 8K run in the morning, and then we're doing an hour and 15 of set. I guess everything's mixed martial arts. In the morning, it's like pretty much a stand-up class for mixed martial arts, a bit of sparring, and then in the afternoon, depends what day it is, it's either wrestling or mixed martial arts, and then after that, jiu-jitsu. We'll be at the gym from about 4:30 until 7:30.
Oh, yeah. It's decent that you need that time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's a full-time job for sure. I'm so stoked I can do it as a full-time job.
So you don't have any other job. It's just doing the mixed martial arts itself. Is that because of like how you get paid, or is there like sponsors that help you as well, or like how do you make that work as a full-time job?
It's gone broke really slow, to be honest.
That's right.
I gotta say, it's another day, another dollar. Not in my pocket, but it's in someone's.
It's like being a professional fighter in Australia. Like I guess in like any retrospect from there, is like it's always going to be a tough slog, isn't it?
Yeah, especially Australia. I just don't think we have a big combat or fighting supportive system. Like the Philippines, they love fighting. You put on TV and there's bloody chickens fighting. They're nuts for fighting.
Yeah, that's right. I know. Half Philo. I get it. It's in my blood. But let's go a little bit into your fight career. So let's just go on the earlier part from there. So you fighting on the regional scene. So was it mainly mainly in Queensland, or were you fighting all over Australia before you went to one?
Yeah, no, I was just mainly Queensland. I was, I guess, the time frame of me competing in Queensland, all the best were Queenslanders. So I was quite lucky to gain the experience there, and then pretty much just get lucky with one and get a shot.
Yeah. And tell us kind of how, because you're like a real veteran of one championship. Like it's kind of the last couple of years, it has sort of taken on kind of a new, it's really starting to steamroll one championship. Like it's become like a real entity in MMA. But you've been there a while, right? So how did the one championship gig come to be originally?
Yeah, I just got super, super lucky. Poor Jordan Lucas got cut and he couldn't compete. And then I'd seen that he had to pull out. So I was like, right, let's just contact them and see if they were interested in still having an Aussie fly over there. I just thought the flights, whatever would be, just switch their name over for me. And then, that's pretty much it, 8 days. So I think he got cut Tuesday. And then we were in discussions with them Wednesday. By Thursday, I remember I was eating a burger and then I got the call, had bought an ice cream, and then got home, was put in the freezer. I went, nope, can't have it. Got the fight, and it was a roller coaster. Trying to get medicals and stuff, and then basically flown out that Monday. It's crazy.
And I've been lucky enough to get to a one show live, and it's quite a production. So talk to us about, especially on short notice, that is such you go from eating your burger to a matter of days fighting on such a big stage. So talk about what that experience was like, because it was quite early in your career. You didn't have heaps of fights when you first went to one. So what was that like?
So look, it blew me absolutely away. For me, I was like, this is it. This is where I want to. This is the level that I want to be at, that I've always dreamt to be at. And late call-up, co-main event for one of the biggest shows in Manila. It's the biggest stadium. This was when they also had the weight cuts. So it was on the card that the kid had passed away on.
Oh.
So that was the last weigh-in they did. It was just, for me, there's a lot of history in it. And I'm just just appreciative to have been able to run a part of it. It was, man, the production, how cool is like the walkouts and the fireworks. They put on a show. It's awesome.
And when you're like, a young guy and young in your career, coming out to that, is it hard not to get overawed by sort of the spectacle and still focusing on the fight, or it was kind of just business as usual?
Oh man, for me, it's always been enjoy every little bit, every moment. So I just enjoy it so much, and I hope it never changes. That's kind of been my view of it, is whatever hype you have, don't believe it. Let other people believe it. You just do your own thing and just keep getting better and show up and perform.
Yeah, I think watching you fight, sort of one of the most fun things about your style, because you do have quite an eccentric, quite a different style. I like that in fighters, especially if I'm watching MMA, which is a sport that has such a diverse, number of styles you can take. I like to see someone that's really different. But I think one of the things that shines through is how much you're enjoying yourself when you're fighting. Like, I think that is like the one that really stands out is your like, I think one of your big kind of coming out fights was against Barbiano Fernandez, like such a huge name in the sport, especially in that part of the world, and such a challenging match. But you were kind of just having fun. Like, there's that point in, I think, the second round where he's on your back and you give the camera a smile. Like, it's just cool to see. And I'm interested in, like, do you find that there is sort of like a mental exercise to being able to be so calm and really just enjoy the moment in there, or does it just come naturally to you?
I think a lot of it's just natural, to be honest. I can't really put it down to anything. I do know of recent, like, I've found there is a spot where you will lose your placency. So it's like you start to go, and you're starting to process other things, and you just got to refocus, I read a really cool book, and it's like red zone, blue zone. You've got to try and, so me, red zone is like, I'm starting to think about other things, or you get angry. It's just like a whole branch. So it's kind of like finding that blue zone again. It has been, for me, like the biggest challenge. But the fun thing, I love my job. I can't believe that basically getting paid to go and fight someone.
Yeah.
It's still like, that's crazy. Where are you going? Philippines. What for? I'm going to get into a fight, basically.
Make some dosh out of it, It's good times. Good to travel as well.
And so
I'm getting paid for this? Cool.
So being that you have, like we're talking about, like, you keep yourself in, I suppose, that blue zone when you're fighting, describe to me what it's like for you. Like, every fighter has their process when they're kind of behind the curtain, so to speak. Like, if I catch Reece McLaren sort of minutes before his walkout, gloves are on, what does it look like for you? Like, what are you up to?
It's pretty intense, to be honest. Yeah. I get real intense behind, and then when I'm in there, it's kind of like I'm there. And then it's all just sheer enjoyment. It's a bit weird. There's an old saying, if you're going to be crazy, make sure you get paid for it. Or you're going to go to jail.
Those are the two options.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, same thing. Like, while you're in the cage itself, so like between rounds, what's does your coach obviously knows you very well. Like, does he know, like, I got to give Reece instructions, or it's like, just give Reece water, prop him up a bit, and just let him go?
Yeah, no, it's all instructions. It's all like just working out. It's basically like a puzzle. We feel, and it's like, all right, so what are you doing well? What are they doing well? How can we capitalize on it? And it's all pretty very strategic, really, if I'd say anything. Yeah. For me, like, everyone goes, what's your game plan? What's this? I think to have a game plan is silly, because if your game plan isn't going the right way, then what do you do? I've only got a game plan. I think for me, it's more like have strategies. So, like, in the corner, it'd be like, all right, so is this strategy working? Is the double leg off the whatever working? No, then let's switch it up. Let's go southpaw. Let's just switch it up. You know what I mean? So for me, it's always like just strategies.
It's, because you can see with some of your fights, it's like you just get in the mode, like, like like Danny King Day, that was a grappling fest. It was awesome to see. But then like, Bibiano and like your recent one says, Tonsky, I think it was. Like you just go, no, I'm just gonna stand. I'm not gonna bother about much else. You just like you just feel that for yourself, and obviously your coach might give you some feedback as well. Just go, okay, so I got these tools, I can do both, but I'm gonna decide where I'm gonna take this fight.
Yeah, look, I think for myself, I can just kind of feel who has what. It's kind of now I've been around for a fair while. I can kind of capitalize on people's weaknesses sometimes.
Yeah. So like noticing like your one career is like, fuck, you fought some people like, so like, top of the line stuff. And it's like, and it was like, like it was a very quick propulsion. Like, so you had, I think it was 2 fights, and then you like, they put you in against Bibiano Fernandez straight away. Like, so when you get that fight, what's the first thing that crossed your mind?
No, to me, I couldn't believe I was fighting Bibiano. I'd watched him since I think like 2006. I mean, I think he was one of the very first ones that I watched, because just the Asian circuit. I always liked Pride and then Dream. I just thought Dream would be still around, and it's gone. And he was 2-time champion that. So for me, he was always the one to watch. And then to be competing against him, I thought, wow, this is what I do, and this is why we do it.
Yeah. And you definitely gave him honest running money. You put his nose in about 3 different places on his face.
Yeah, look, his face had changed. Like, I didn't even recognize him. I was like, who's this guy? And there's like bone sticking out. I was like, see fights get finished because there's like bone sticking out of a nose. So I was like, oh, if it's over, it's over. If it's not, let's keep going.
Yeah, did an absolute job on that nose, and then step back and let him know about it afterwards.
Tell you what, his corner did a good job. They clicked it right back in nice and straight.
Yeah, that was nuts to watch, actually, like them actually getting it. You don't see that often, right? They actually just like grabbed a hold of his nose, like type of shit from movies. They're like, oh, they do that for real.
Yeah, I was like, wow, they've done a really good job.
Yeah.
That dude's a plastic surgeon.
So tell us a little bit as well about, like, obviously you've been in one for, a few years now. Talk to us a little bit about kind of what's changed so you really feel like you're a part of something that's been growing a lot. Like, what differs fighting in one? Obviously, a lot differs fighting in one, like right now, but like generally fighting in one championship compared to when you started. How much has the organisation changed?
The growth at the moment, before COVID, obviously it was just incredible. From if I ever like was walking through the lobby or whatever, no one would know anything. Now it's like you walk through the lobby and they're like, oh, one championship, good luck, and everyone knows. Like, everyone knows.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty cool feeling. Like, and especially like I said for yourself, is like, you just like every fight you watch, Reece is going to put it out there and he's going to have fun when he's doing it, which kind of adds on to like, the pleasure of watching you as well. But do you find like from home to like somewhere like Asia, where you fought in the Philippines a lot as well, do you get like more like, recognition from fans like from home, or when you go abroad?
Abroad for sure. I come back here and I'm nobody. Like, it's sweet.
Well, it's good to have a break, I guess, in that retrospect.
Yeah, it's cool. It's humbling, then you go over there and it's kind of like, oh, and you be gracious. So yeah, it's wild, man. The Philippines, for me, I'm probably most recognized. But yeah, here I'm just like, I'm kind of shocked when someone's like, oh, are you blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's and like guessing because you fought a fair few of their boys, the Filipino boys. It's always like all tough fights as well. Like, one I want to know about, like like the Danny King Day fight from there. I think there's like a bit of like people like going back and forth who won that fight and whatnot. It was really close. And how did you feel though for yourself the fight was going when it's happening?
I'm never happy with a decision ever. So like, if you look at it, disappointment is over my face. But if you take someone down for 2 rounds, take their back multiple times, mount, have control, and then get taken down in the last 2 minutes to stand back up and then lose. It's a pretty tough very tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Was it close? I don't know. Any other organization, I win 2 rounds to 1.
Yeah. It's like, do you like, what is the kind of scoring criteria for one, like in the MMA? Because like we always like talk about it, like from there, like the Muay Thai we got an idea, but like every other like other disciplines they have on there, like we kind of like, oh, this is what we think, but we're never too sure. Like, you know, what's the, you know, what are they actually looking for most of the time?
I don't know. To me, like for me, it's to score on an entirety. I don't know. They're like aggression, cage control, ring generalship, blah blah blah. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a judge, and I'm hoping from now on it's like if we're in there, then judges go home. You're not needed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, like, you know, it's like, I guess it's like any kind of basketball. It's like you just gotta judge it as like who's doing the damage, or who's like, you know, if it's a submission, like who's actually attacking and like, you know, getting the better of those exchanges, and also just in being in just more dominant positions then.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know also, like obviously the key like as far as actual scoring criteria, I've never looked into it super closely whether it's different over there but the key difference as you alluded to is it's MMA fights are scored in their entirety rather than round by round. You say you don't really like decisions, so maybe you don't even think about it. But do you have a preference as do you like the overall Pride style scoring, or you prefer that kind of more Western idea of round by round?
I like round by round.
Like round by round.
You can see there's actual numbers put down on paper. Round by round is just like that judge said. It's like an opinion.
Yeah. My thing with the whole fight is I can definitely see the argument for it, but I've always also kind of thought it's kind of difficult to, like, you know how you talk about when we're talking about round by round, there's that end of round bias, like someone can finish a little bit stronger and you remember what you saw last. I think when you've got a 25-minute fight and you're just supposed to score it like it's one long round, it's very difficult to say that what happens at the start is going to be viewed in the same light as what happens in the end. Like, you'd have to think that's the biggest risk to it. Is that how you feel?
That's exactly how I feel. Let's say it's a 25-minute fight. For 20 minutes, you're taking the guy down, you're controlling him. For the last 5 minutes, let's just say you get bashed. Now, an entirety of a fight, 20 minutes is what's that, 85% or 90% of a fight? You've only lost 10% of that fight. However, does that last 5 minutes that you're getting bashed, does that weigh on the judge, and then the judge thinks, oh, well, that guy won?
Yeah, like I know I'd find it difficult. Like if I was like you say, I'm the same. Good thing I'm not a judge, because like if I'm watching 25 minutes of fighting and I have to score it like it's one round, like I would be sitting there in the last 2 minutes, like, what happened at the start again?
Yeah, exactly. What happened? What happened the first 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's a bit of like, you know, you watch combat sports or you watch anything. It's like it's hard to like take in what happened early compared to like what's fresh in your mind, because like it's like, there's a lot of shit going on from there, and it's like, it's like I don't know. It makes it just makes it so hard, that one. But I don't know. It's like one seems to be changing a lot. Like they brought in Muay Thai and the Super Series, and they change around with the gloves and that as well. You know, and you used to fight back when they used to have soccer kick in the head also. I remember that.
Yeah.
Max Striegel. I remember that one.
Those aren't fun.
It's but like, you know, maybe they'll just change it to make it better, because it seems that's the way they seem to be going for a lot of stuff. So it makes it more enjoyable for the viewer as well. And like, because if someone's sitting there goes, how the fuck was that a decision? I don't get that. That guy was just pounding that guy. But if people understand a bit more, then hey, you know, more people watch it and stick around. Support the fighters. Yeah,
look, for me, I just want to I think ahead with everything they're doing their weight cut system, and they're very, the innovation that they're going through even now. I'm very excited for the future.
I got a couple of questions. I'll just to stay on this topic before I get to the next piece. Do you find, like, I know you say you don't really like decisions, so it might not be for you, but do you think is how a fight is scored, like, for example, round by round versus in its entirety, will that change the kind of way you strategize for it, or you just kind of go out and do your thing? And like, how does that factor into your training?
Doesn't really factor in as such. I guess I'm always looking for the finish anyway.
Yeah.
The only thing that, like, the round by round thing may do is at the end of the round, you try to get the takedown, you try and look good. Well, this system is kind of like, I guess you're always looking to be dominant. So there is a presence that it could create more exciting fights, but for me, at the end of the day, when it comes down to the decision, it's still, there's no numbers, it's opinion.
Yeah. And there's been a little bit of kind of argument, I suppose, in MMA media about how combat sports is one of the only sports in the world where there's no score on the board. In round by round scoring, people are starting to argue for, let's show on screen who's winning and who's losing so everyone knows. Is that something you would kind of like more of a metric to understand who's on top as a fight goes on, or don't care? What's kind of your thought?
No, I'm not too fussed with it. It's like boxing. They'll have someone's unofficial scorecard pop up. So I know some boxing, they'll have a scorecard, but it's just let the fighters fight.
Yeah. Well, you just don't like decisions anyway, right? So you're not really thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you get the finish. Keep working the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, I guess, like, if a fight is scored in a true way, if you're fighting for the finish, then if you get close to success, that's how you should be gaining points anyway. Like, I have always felt like the person who should win the decision is, over the course of a fight, who was closer to finishing the fight, because that is, in essence, what damage and control is. You're controlling the fight and doing the damage. If you're putting someone in a position where you're almost finishing them.
Yeah. The submission thing gets confusing, because if you survive the submission, well, then I think it's like, well, who does get the point? Was it a hard submission? Was it a hard escape? The bit where it's like, and this is where the blurred line is, and I don't think it should be a blurred line. I think if you're getting held against the fence, you're losing. If you're holding your man against the fence, then you're winning. That's where I think it's clear, but that seems to be where it's blurry. The submission thing is also, it's kind of like, well, yeah, do you score your man for surviving that submission? For getting back up to his feet? Or do you just score the guy that's attacking near the finish?
I guess it's more so, it looks like, like how deep the submission is, and that goes to the judges also, just knowledge of jiu-jitsu. Yeah,
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a difference between, like, you put someone in a deep choke from whatever position, you go, oh, that's pretty deep. And the guy's like legitimately escapes. You go, that's pretty good. Other than, like, he gets out because he had like half and he just slipped off, goes,
Yeah, is it a good escape, or did the dude slip out? It's like, all right, if he slipped out, then I'd still award the attacker. If it's an escape that he's had to, like, change the angle or whatever to escape, then it's like, okay, is it a point each, like 1-1?
Yeah. And I think that just comes down to just the, like I said before, just the knowledge of the person that's officiating the fight, of, like, the jiu-jitsu part, which they should, like, really, like, if you're doing MMA, you should have, like, at least, train it, done it, and, like, know these parts of the games of, like, what actually constitutes, like, what's a damaging score, or, like, a submission that's, like, a legit submission attempt as well.
Yeah. I think what's cool is because now the sport's become a lot more educated. It's been around now for a lot more years, that the judges are getting way better at it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
just comes down to it, man. Don't leave it in the judge's hands because the judges will break your heart.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So, like, with your recent fight that you had from there, like, we're just interested to know, like, because of, like, you know, the world was falling apart not too long ago with COVID and everything. Like, what was your experience like coming into the fight as well, like training wise, actually getting there at the fight and all the stuff that you had to deal with before you even got into the cage?
Oh, man, this COVID's been so troublesome. The paperwork and the like government stuff we had to get through just to get out of country was crazy. I don't want to say it's been a good thing for me, this COVID thing, but because it's been terrible for the world, right? So if anything, I've just stayed consistent. I've been in the gym almost as much as I would for a fight. I've been dabbling with a few other things that have now started to really show the consistency of doing is coming through. I feel like a lot of people have fallen behind, which is kind of a bit of a dangerous thing. But no, look, it's the COVID thing, man. Just, do you want me to talk about the protocol in Singapore? It was crazy.
Yeah,
sure.
Walk us through it a bit. I'm interested to hear.
So we finally fly out. We get to Singapore and we're taken down and we do they call it a PCR test or the COVID swab. Man, the people in there, savages, they took part of my brain. They scraped my brain. I was in pain. Like, it hurt behind my eye for like 8 hours. I swear to God. We're then stuck in our hotel. We get split at the airport into 2 vans. One van like takes us to the hotel where we go through a back door straight to our room. Stuck in the room now for like 60 hours. Can't leave. Can't see anyone. From there, we're allowed to like kind of go to lunch, and then the government goes, "Nah, you're not allowed to do that." So then we're back in the hotel room by yourself in this like, you got to admit, like luxury hotel room, but that's it. You can't go out. You're stuck in the room. Lunch, breakfast, dinner, all brought to you. You're just stuck. It was insane.
Yeah. Did you like how far out from the fight did you actually fly into Singapore?
So they flew us in a week before.
Okay.
And then the fight night was insane. We're in a van. We get brought to the venue. We're stuck in the van because there's not enough room in the change rooms. It's too overcrowded. So they're waiting to move on someone so we can get out. We finally get out and the fights have started. We're like 4 fights to go now until we compete. So I'm like, do a semi warm up. Got to get my hands wrapped. Come back. There's like 2 fights to go. Honestly, it was like a 10 to 5 minute warm up and then fight. From the fight, it got crazier, right? It was fight, medical room, van, hotel, back in my room by myself. Sitting there.
That was like, it just feels surreal. Did that really happen or?
Yeah. Man, I'm just like, so what now?
And for you, what was it like having such a different routine in the lead up to the fight? Like, did it kind of stress you out? Were you just a bit more go with the flow? Like, how are you feeling with all that?
I hate being stuck inside was a big one, especially I just like to walk around. Not being able to walk around, you're in your head a lot more. It's kind of just trash TV got me through. So much trash TV. It was bizarre. The no crowd thing was weird. It felt like really hard sparring, if anything. I like the crowd. The crowd's kind of like what brings me to life, if you will.
Yeah.
Not having it was different, very different.
Oh yeah, definitely. As we said before, like, you know, you're quite a performer. Like, it's really enjoyable to watch you fight. You know, you play to the crowd a bit, you know, make a shot, miss, go, oh, where did that go, fella? But like, the no crowd one, that would be really strange. But when you go back as well, what does Australia make you do?
Australia is 2 weeks quarantine. So we had the quarantine in Sydney. So we got out, and it's, man, just craziness. You got to walk down, get a border pass, have a border pass, basically quarantined for 2 weeks, stuck in another room. Can't go nowhere. It's rough, man. I definitely feel like it was challenging, and I reckon it's definitely changed me a little bit. I'm kind of a little bit like, oh, but yeah, now, man, I just appreciate everything so much more. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like, especially when you just got locked down like that, it's just crazy. Like I guess we got a taste of it, like during the lockdown itself. But like actually, like being forced, like like this is where you got to stay. There's no outside whatsoever, and like and it's like it'd be no different than prison, really. Getting your meals and that.
2 weeks was like bearable, but put that other week on it, or that extra 14 days or whatever it was, and it's like it was too long. It was just too long.
Yeah. What about like, because obviously it does seem this thing's not going away altogether, at least in a hurry. So like, you're home now, I guess setting your sights on it. Like when you first came back, I guess I asked, like, was it a little bit like, fuck this, call me again when shit's normal? Or was it just like, keen enough to get out and do it again? Like, well, what was your thoughts like that?
Yeah, I was the first one, man. I was like, I don't know if I could do this again.
Yeah,
it was pretty insane. Plus all the stress from leaving, like, my girl at home with 2 dogs and having to work 2 jobs. It was so stressful.
Yeah, it's a big ask like during these times, isn't it?
Yeah, huge.
But like have they actually kind of contacted you? Go, hey Reece, you want to do it again? And you're kind of going, meh, or they just leaving you alone for a bit at the moment.
Look, I'm hoping I open up a travel bubble with Singapore. I heard there were chats with it. If they could do that and then have us not have to quarantine for 2 weeks, even if it's just like a 48-hour quarantine or something.
Yeah.
Oh, so down. The American lads, they're all home. Like, you have to quarantine. And they're like, nope, no quarantine.
They don't give a fuck over there.
Oh man, so backwards.
So bringing it back home as well from there, mate. Like with your team from there, have you got anyone in your gym at the moment that's looking like pretty good? Like that did you want to give props to?
Oh man, that's the whole team. For at the moment, there's like I read this book called Legacy, and it was like collective character is vital for success. Just the collective character we have at our gym at the moment with the coach, with Vinny putting it all together. It's it's phenomenal.
It's like, is it then, and like shows are pretty much all good to go, like around your area again, like they're all like pumping again?
Yeah, they're all kind of restricted with the numbers, like the crowd number that can be there, but otherwise it's, the shows are back on. 2 shows in 2 months, so it's looking good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, nice.
We'll be there soon as well.
Yeah.
New South Wales, come on, we're getting there.
Slow and steady.
It is. It's very slow and steady.
I'm always interested to ask, because we touched on it a little bit earlier. The one championship weight cutting protocol gets a lot of, it's always a talking point. So you're one of the interesting ones, as you mentioned, in that you got to go over there when they still did, weight cutting the way everyone else does it. And you were there for the introduction of the new process. So what was adjusting to that like? Do you prefer it? Would you prefer it the other way? And kind of what did it do for kind of your approach to making weight / what weight you fought at?
The way I view it is, if I was fighting at a flyweight, I'd probably want to cut from the weight division above a week out anyway. So it's all the hard work, everything's done before you even need to cut. So you're not cutting. So to me, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I know there's a few guys that have kind of worked it out and they're still cutting a bit of weight, which you can if you want to risk it. I make the bantamweight one too easy, so I just have to diet a little bit harder and I'm at the flyweight. So it's sweet.
And what's it like so far as like, obviously, I guess you would have been doing it for a while now. So it's probably just just business as usual. But like, is it kind of just like a bit annoying, I guess, having to go through the protocol? Like, because like you say, you make the weight easy, but you've still got to, you know, get weighed and get a hydration tested twice. What's that like?
It's stressful. If anything, it's 2 days of stress or it's like a week of stress rather than just that 1 day of stress. But it's a different stress. It's just like a mental stress. It's not a body stress. So I think we're all performing better, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because our bodies haven't been through a weight cut. We're not dehydrating ourselves.
Do you think other shows around the world will sort of – do you think that's the way forward, or do you not really see it for Western fight promotions?
I'm in two sort of minds with it. I can't see why not, but then I also understand this is the way they've done it. That stupid saying that this is the way we've done it, that's the way we'll always do it. I know California brought in a percentage thing where fighters must be a certain percentage to make it safe. I think that's a great idea along everywhere.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, a pretty sound thing. Like, you know, it's like you don't want to like, you know, put yourself at a disadvantage by like, you know, by having a shitty weight cut, like, you know, because it's like your body changes so much over time as well that like it's hard to do the same protocols like from start to the beginning of your career. And like the one that sounds pretty good. Like, you know, no one really kind of misses weight. Fights are very rarely looks like they're affected by weight cuts as well.
Yeah, for me, the weight cut thing is always just been, if you want to cut the weight, good on you. Go and cut it.
Yeah.
It's what advantage are you really going to have? A couple extra kilos? Like, no, you go for it. Yeah. It's never worried me. I'm like, whatever. People do what people do, man.
So that being said, like if you then went over and you were fighting in America, you were fighting somewhere where they do it the old way, would it change what weight you're fighting at, or you'd kind of just still keep?
I think I'd make flyweight quite easy. I think the last couple ones I've weighed in about 60.6 or whatever. I think a week of no sodium water loading, I'd be able to get that off quite easy.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's only water manipulation.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Like in your division at the moment from there, who are you gunning for? Who's the top man you want to take on?
Look, I think at the moment I'm ranked 5. I think the best flyweights are in 1. I definitely don't want to move up. I've always wanted to compete against the best, and the best have always been in 1 for that division. So I think last night I got called out by Yuya Wakamatsu. So, hey, you want to do it? Let's go. I'm down. Anyone.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, you know, Reece likes to fight, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that being said, sort of, you know, that is an interesting thing about your weight class is there is a very serious argument that it actually has that one championship has the most talent-rich flyweight division. So for you, like, do you see yourself sort of like staying in 1 for the long haul? Is looking to, you know, the UFC or a major kind of American promotion in the plans, or but what are your thoughts on that moving forward?
Look, I've always believed that if you want to be the best, you have to compete against the best, and you have to beat the best. And I think the best are in 1 championship. So I'd be super stoked to just stay with 1. I mean, they've been so. It's like it's almost like a family kind of organization. You go and you got the same faces. They're not going to change, and everyone's getting better at what they're doing. Yeah, I'd happily stay with 1.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, definitely. Why not? It's worked so well. It's worked so well for you. Yeah, cool, man. I think another thing that was just like we're approaching the hour here from that one. Like, Reece, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. It's been a great chat.
Thank you for having me.
That's no problem. Do you want to tell the people where they catch you, Instagram wise, or any other kind of platform that you have?
Yeah, Instagram, Reece Lightning 91, I think my thing is. Yep. I'm not even sure. Facebook. If there's any sponsors out there want to jump on, give us a DM.
That's right. Damn straight. Sponsored this man.
Yeah, anybody you work with?
Help me keep the. Sorry.
Anyone you're working with right now that you want to give a shout, but before we jump off?
Yeah, the Fight Dietitian, TikTok, Integrated Sports and Spinal, Author, P3, Building Industries. Look, to be honest, if you're a fighter and you're starting out, get yourself a dietitian. Get yourself a food company that pre-make the meals. If you're in Queensland, you're crazy not to be using TikTok. You're crazy not to be using the Fight Dietitian. If I had these two when I started, changed my life. Swear to God.
Ah, yeah, interesting. Very good. If you want to know how to get sponsors, we did that on the last podcast with Matt Lucas. All right, but other than that, Reece, thank you for joining us. So remember, everyone else here, if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe to the channel. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other stuff from there. And we'll catch you next time, all right?
See ya.
Cool. Gotcha.
Really.